So good afternoon once again. You are with me, Rose Chitanuwat. I'm going to moderate this afternoon session. It is part of the Layer Week webinar. So in the morning, we have gone through field session on the how to manage water, the ventilation, and also the success case in Philippines on managing sustainable farming. Definitely the sustainability is the pressure that we get all around, because livestock sector that we all are here produce the emission, which is we need to cope up how to reduce that. So one of the topic that we are going to have with Big Dutchman today, Big Dutchman is one of the market leader who is working on the turnkey project, and they provide a solution, cost effectiveness one, and also with the environmental sustainability concern. So Big Dutchman has the office more than 100 countries, if I not mistaken. So this is a great opportunity that you can hear the evolution, the development and innovation that Big Dutchman has been focusing on how to help the farmers to reduce the emission, which is manage the emission that can make the methane that can cause the warm planet. So the next topic will be with us about 1 hour. The topic will be presented by Mr. Jaap. He is the Business Development Sales Manager from Big Dutchman Asia. You may heard they call BDA, that is Big Dutchman Asia. So the topic on modern farming and waste treatment. So may I invite Jaap to be on the call for presenting to all of you.
Absolutely, and thank you very much, Rose, for your introduction. Sawadee Krap and Sing Ciao to everybody. Let me load my screen. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes, but it's yet to be the presentation slide. It's with note. Okay.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this presentation on modern farming and waste management. My name is Jaap, and I work for Big Dutchman Asia. I'm based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and it's my pleasure to walk you through this presentation. Now, let's start straight with a bold statement. Droppings are not waste. We can turn a liability into an asset. We can turn something that has always given us problems into a solution, into a success. And chicken manure are not waste. They're actually a source of energy, fertilizer, and protein. And in most of the cases, it turns into a profit as well. Now, the picture here you can see on the right shows that a good fertilizer can contribute to a better soil. And eventually, if we have a better soil, it can capture carbon as well, being better for the environment. To get to that point of turning manure into success, we do require specific equipment and knowledge. Now, we realize that every farm is different and requires a slightly different approach on how to get successful waste management in place. So therefore, we say sustainable livestock farming does not come without challenges. So what are those challenges? I've summed up most common problems we have noticed from visiting our customers throughout the years. And I would say that more than 80% of the farmers have the same problems. And I'm sure that a lot of you here in the room recognize those problems. Start with the first one, handling problem. Storage and transportation issues. Storage, meaning how long can I store it? Is it still wet when it goes in? Should it be still wet? How do I store it? How big is my shed supposed to be, for example? With transportation, we've seen that trucks are, for example, not on time. Sometimes it's hard to reach a farm in a remote area. Sometimes people don't show up at all. Wet manure is a problem that everybody knows of. It's annoying, it takes up a lot of time and effort, and it's basically always in our way. Additional cost to remove manure. In a lot of cases, we have to pay somebody to remove the manure, or maybe pay for the transport or for the petrol, or some sort of cost is always involved. Smell and odor issues. It's I think by far the #1 problem in all of the farms, at least in Southeast Asia. Complaints from neighbors and communities, and then it doesn't matter if the farm is a few hundred meters away or maybe a few kilometers away, when you can still smell the bad gases, the ammonia, sometimes it's dusty. Flies, a lot of flies inside of the shed, outside of the shed. I've seen flies in a coffee house a few kilometers down the road of a farm. So it happens. There are flies all over the place. Major environmental problems. As you can see on some of the photos on the right, a lot of ammonia in the air. Ammonia is harmful, especially when it turns to a greenhouse gas. Water contamination, as you can see on the picture on the right, where we sometimes dump it in the river or even in the sea. Valuable nitrogen nutrients runoff. So that means that the nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus, for example, are then run off maybe in the water, maybe into the land. And those are actually valuable nutrients that we can use in land applications. Employees leaving the companies could be because of the smell, high amount of ammonia on the farm, for example. Awareness and transfer knowledge. It could be how to handle climate in combination with manure handling. For example, what happens if I run the cooling pad? Well, the humidity will increase and it will also affect the manure in the house. The manure becomes more wet. So how do you deal with that? So how do you deal with that if some person knows about it but then leaves the company? Is he willing to share? Are they sharing information when they leave the company? So is everybody aware of what happens with waste management? Okay, so customers know Big Dutchman from our total solutions. We have been in the industry for more than 80 years. We started as an equipment company, slowly moved into ventilation, to feed handling, to buildings, farm management, data management as well. Of course, we are known for our service as well, our after sales support. And I would say based on customer feedback from the last 10 years, we've also focused on environmental solutions, such sort of complementary products to our core products. In your case, for example, that's egg. So these are all in-house design products that we made with customer feedback. And we can supply dryers, pelletizers, air cleaners, and also composting towers. So this is what a modern farm in Asia looks like. So we want our customers to grow. Superior growth value creation, as sometimes we call it. To grow, for example, the amount of eggs, to grow the size of the eggs, to grow profit, but also grow the waste management side of the business. And in the end, we want to improve productivity, performance, and efficiency. Okay, I'm getting feedback from some people that my mic is not correct. Is it better now?
It is like when you move the body back, the mic, your voice is lost. So maybe have to stay still and put the mic close to your mouth.
Okay, if I keep it like this, will it? Is it loud enough?
Yes, it's good.
Okay, I'll try to stay 100% still, but please let me know if the mic is not working.
Sure.
Okay, so this is what a modern farm looks like. And this part highlighted here in the lower left bottom is will be considered normal in the future, also on Asian farms, where we have layer houses that are connected by manure conveyors to a drying tunnel. After that, the dried manure will be composted and stored in a shed. And during the composting process, the air is cleaned by the air cleaner to remove smell, ammonia, and dust. And lastly, all the way in the left side, we can make pellets from the end product, which is either dried manure pellets or compost pellets. Okay, the problem of wet layer manure. Now, I'm sure that most people in this room have seen this before on a farm. Wet manure, it jams the systems, realign manure belt issues. That happens everywhere. So how do we deal with the situation of wet manure? Well, our strength is to integrate existing equipment, such as ventilation in this case, as you can see on the slide, to not only cool the bird, but also dry the manure at the same time. Now, from our 80+ years of experience, we understand the chicken, we know how they live like, and based on that, we design a shed to also make use of all our existing products to eventually reduce the operational expenses for our customers. Now, we know ventilation, we know airspeed, pressure, humidity. For example, during the day when a cooling pad is running, we know that white birds produce less manure compared to brown birds. So all of these things are taken into consideration when we design waste treatment or waste management products. So all equipment can work perfectly together. This is one example of a combination of our products. The ventilator cools the bird, as you can see on the left, but it also dries the manure at the same time, manure on the right side. And all of these products are in a Big Dutchman design building. Okay, so coming back to the overview again, let's have a deeper look into the dryer system. We place the dryer directly behind the ventilation to make use of the hot and free air coming out of a layer house. In this way, we keep the operational expenses low since there is no need for additional heat source. In this side view, you can see that the hot air passes the manure through the perforated manure belts or plates and absorbs water. Then the moistened air will then leave the drying house or eventually end up in an air scrubber or air washer or air cleaner, as we sometimes refer to. So the dried manure can be easily stored and transported since you remove a lot of moisture out of the manure. So the more moisture you remove, the lighter the product and the easier to transport, and the less fuel you use as well. It can dry up to 70 to 80% dry matter content, also known as DMC. And it's ideal for pre-drying if you want to make a high-valued compost fertilizer. Of course, if you want to skip that, you can also straight away go into pelletizing the dried manure as well. For the Optisec, we have two options. One is to connect straight away to the house, as I showed on the slide just now. And the other version is a standalone version. For example, if you have less space behind the house available. So how do we dry the manure? The manure enters at the top and drops down slowly, tier by tier, until the manure is dry enough after a few days, and then can be discharged. Okay, I have a video to show you how it works in action. So the manure enters the system via manure conveyor belts. It can be all atomized. It is captured in a filling station above the top tier of the system. To control the amount of manure entering the system, the manure is weighed by load cells. So when the hopper is full, it starts to load the Optisec and will distribute the manure evenly on the manure belt. So it spreads nice from side to side. I hope the video is not too laggy. So here you can see a complete overview of the Optisec. It is multiple tiers high. It can go up from 2 tiers up to 14 tiers. That's 14, 1, 4. And as you can see here on the top, the moisture is still in the system when it enters, but when it slowly drops, it decreases. And you will have a similar end product as we show over here in the video. We here have an example of a Optisec system that includes a Big Dutchman building, and this is taken in Vietnam. The building has no leakage, keeps the heat nicely in the building, and it's wrapped around a customized Optisec that's designed for optimum efficiency with no unnecessary extra space. It also works perfect with our ventilation and on the manure belt conveyors, as you can see on the left-hand side. Some photos from the inside of our system in Vietnam. On the left, you can see the top tier of the system where the manure just entered. We can provide a computer to control the Optisec with an easy to use touch screen. All right, let's move on to the CompoTower to make compost. The goal of the CompoTower is to turn dried manure into organic compost that acts as a high value fertilizer. We introduced this CompoTower to come up with a better product than the horizontal turners that are currently in the market. That is why we chose a vertical enclosed composting system. It's all stainless steel, so high temperatures within the system of 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. And we can load it on a daily basis. And when the manure is still in the system, turning into compost, it stays in the system for 4 to 5 days. So because we add on manure on a daily basis, there's also daily compost output. It's a small footprint. It's designed in such a way where it goes in the sky and not on the ground, widens out. And it's about 5 by 6 meters. So it's 30 square meters per tower. We've chosen for a modular approach. So you can start with one system, and when it's successful, you can add another one and another one and another one. Easy to operate, only with one headcount. It's feedback from our customers in Vietnam, but also other parts in Southeast Asia, where only one person can operate the system. Okay, I've got a video here. So it's a part 3D video, but also a live video from a customer in Vietnam. So in the beginning, we have to load it up with sawdust. It only happens once to sort of kickstart the bacterial process. And after that, we only fill in manure from our layer houses. So the sawdust is just to kickstart the biological process. The bucket is about 1 cubic meter, and you can load a couple of buckets per day inside of the tower. So we have continuous air blow through the system to ensure sufficient oxygen through the mixing blades. As you can see over there, they're spinning in the center. It's an insulated tank, so it captures the heat very effectively, and continuous slow agitation among contact among oxygen, microbes, and feedstock. This guy smells the manure and says it's okay. So every day we have output of compost as well. So when it enters the system, it's roughly 40 to 45% DMC. And when it comes out, it's close to 70% DMC. So DMC again stands for dry matter content. So we don't add microorganisms or enzymes. We only add manure coming from the house. Plus, as I will later show you as well, there's an option to completely clean the air out of all the ammonia and dust and odor coming out of it. We can add 9 tons of manure each day with a dry matter content of 45%. That's the optimum. And then every day we can also remove close to 6 tons of compost per day. As you can see on the photo, it's moving from the top slowly down. Air and oxygen is going through to speed up the process. And the inside volume of the tower is 66 cubic meters. It's a heavy machine, but we only need one person to operate it. Our tests show good results with a high amount of organic matter and also good NPK value, nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus. And what also is very useful is that there's no pathogens. So the E. coli bacteria is not detected. Salmonella is also not detected. As you can see, the version on the left is English. The version on the right is Vietnamese. We are about to have a Malaysian version as well. Okay, next up is the AirCleaner. So it's a small little container you see in between the CompoTowers. I can assure you it's not a small machine, but if you stand next to a 9-meter tower, then it turns out to be very small. It's a chemical air scrubber. We have to make it chemical because of the high amount of ammonia inside of the tower. It will effectively reduce the smell because of that. And of course, it will solve the problem of ammonia emissions. We connect it to pipes. So all of the harmful gases stay within the system and then go immediately into the air cleaner to get rid of all those harmful gases. And one cleaner can handle 2 CompoTowers. So as you can see on the picture here, it's nicely situated in between those 2 towers. And it produces ammonium sulfate as a byproduct, which is actually a liquid fertilizer. This is how it looks like on the inside. We have on the left the control room and what we call the skid. So all the pipes and the pumps that are connected to the right side where all the showers are that scrub the air of dirty ammonia, dust and odor. And it's fit in a 40-foot container. Photos of an air cleaner in action. Here you can clearly see it looks like a shower. It's sprinkling all of the acids on the dirty gases. This version is connected to a house. That's also a possibility. For example, a layer house can be connected with an air cleaner, and it's connected at the gable wall where the ventilators are placed. So when the harmful gases leave the house, it will get a chemical shower or a biological shower, depending on your preference. And then we will be able to clean the air and get rid of harmful emissions. Oh, sorry. The movie. So this movie was produced for the CompoLiner, which is another product that we have. It's similar to the CompoTower. The CompoTower is vertical, the CompoLiner is more of horizontal in a container type. And as you can see here, it's also connected to a big pipe. So all the harmful gases stay within the system, either this system or the CompoTower. And then the harmful gases then are removed from the system and then go into the air scrubber. It will enter the lower parts of the scrubber. It goes to a dust filter as well. Then when the air reaches the shower, it will get a sort of an acid spray, an acid shower. It's chemically, as I said, because of the high amounts of ammonia within those systems. Whatever is coming out is very clean air. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I was in Europe. I also visited one of these farms and I stood next to one of these machines, and I can safely say that you could hardly smell it when you are standing next to it. When you are standing 20, 30, maybe 50 meters away, you don't smell anything at all. So it's highly effective. So what about the storage? This is a house where you can temporarily store either dry manure or compost. Depends, of course, on the wishes of the farm. Whether, for example, it's easier to sell compost, or maybe the price of dried manure is better, or maybe compost is not yet installed. Here we make use of conveyors, as you can see on the top, that enter the house.
Excuse me, Jaap.
Yes.
Voice lost more often now.
Oh, okay. Then let me go back. So this is a house where you can temporarily store either dry manure or compost. It depends on, of course, the farmer's wishes. The manure or compost can come in via conveyor, as you can see on the top part of this photo. Another option is to straight away drop compost into a temporary storage, an open shed, so to say. Easy for the front loader to come in and scoop the manure. All right, moving on to the pellet box. It's a perfect way to dry manure or compost in a very compact way. The value of pelletized products is also higher and can be easily transported. It does not use any heat like natural gas because the heat source is a press. We have sold these in Europe, but also in Vietnam and Philippines, for example, in Southeast Asia. And just like other products, it's very easy to operate. In this case, you just need one person to operate the pellet box. It can handle about 750 kilograms per hour. If this version is too small, we have a 5 ton per hour version as well. It's plug and play. It's all made and assembled in Germany. It also comes in a container, so it's very easy to transport. It's a very clean system. It hardly produces any dust. And like I said, but it's a very important point, there's no natural gas needed, so it's safer. This is what the end product looks like. It's a jumbo bag of 1 ton. We can even repack in smaller bags and sell it, for example, at a higher margin. We've seen it around Southeast Asia. Okay, so what is the goal of manure treatment? Next to solving a problem of smell, wet manure, and ammonia, it is better for the environment. And the world's most urgent mission, of course, is carbon neutrality by 2050. So what we need to do is to bring down carbon levels dramatically. And that is something which is also very applicable to the agriculture industry and the layer industry as well. So the goal is to reduce greenhouse gases. On the left, you can see the current baseline. That means that this is the figure that we now emit. And the goal is to further reduce it to scenario 3, which is all the way on the right, which is in fact possible with our current products. So let me explain a little bit what the current baseline means. The current practice is that we stack manure, as you can see on the left-hand side, or temporarily store manure on our farm before we transport it somewhere else. And when we transport it, we require a lot of trucks, a lot of heavy transport, and usually those trucks are also quite bad for the environment. When we then apply the untreated manure on the land, it's actually very harmful because it's still full of bacteria and we still have odor issues. It's full of bacteria that, for example, the CompoTower can eliminate, as I shared in a few slides before. Our solution is that we straight away dry the manure when it's coming out of the house without storing it, and then completely we make compost out of it straight away. And then we clean the air at the same time. Then only we apply it as organic fertilizer on our soil. So by doing so, we can reduce more than 600 tons of CO2 equivalents per year. To put this in perspective, I've taken the most common used green product, which is solar panels. And in this case, I took 800 solar panels because on one house, one layer house with 50,000 birds, you can put on the roof 400 solar panels. So if you have 800 solar panels, it's a reduction of 334 tons of CO2 per year, or for example, let's say 73 passenger cars. If we compare to our systems, also systems for 100,000 birds, so the CompoTower, the manure dryer, and the AirCleaner for 100,000 birds, it can reduce 626 tons of CO2 per year which is almost double of what the solar panels can do. And the solar panel is the most famous and well-known, let's say, carbon reduction product. Of course, perfectly fine if you put solar panels on the roof and also use those products, then you are doing the right thing. Because of our innovative new products, we are endorsed by the government of Malaysia with this green certificate. That means that our customers in Malaysia can get a double tax deduction. We are actually trying to get more certificates across Southeast Asia as well. For example, for Thailand, Vietnam, but also Indonesia. So they can use this type of certification as well. So what products can help with the sustainable transition? As you can see over here, we have heat exchangers, we have manure dryers, we have water filtration systems, we have manure separators that are useful for example, pigs, but also when you have biogas. We have pelletizers, we have CompoTowers, air cleaners, as well as cooling machines. We provide heat pumps, and we even have geothermal energy technology, where you basically take heat from the lower part of the earth and then transport it back to your house to heat up. We have a few projects running like that in the Netherlands. And on the left, for example, you can see a heat exchanger that converts energy from the air cleaner to useful heat in clean water that can be transported to air inlets to condition incoming air. For example, the first few days when you need a lot of hot air in the house when you have baby chicks. All right, this is an air cleaning video. As you can see here, this white round bubble is air. It's still fresh, it's white. There's no air pollution, the air temperature is okay. But when it goes inside of a house, there's a lot of harmful gases. So the air temperature rises, and then the air pollution also rises. Then it will hit our air cleaning system. It will get an acid shower. And then slowly the air temperature drops, and then the air pollution is gone as well. So whatever we emit is very clean air. This is a side view. Here you can again see the shower in action. It gets rid of all the harmful gases coming out of a chicken house. And then the lower part, you can see where the water is being captured. It's very hot water. And that water we can also use for our so-called Triple EEE heat recovery system. So all the hot air is then coming out of the chicken shed, and then is being captured in that basin down below. And that hot water is then being transported through pipes underground or above ground, it's up to you, towards the inlets to condition the air. And then the inlets also have heat exchangers in front of them. So here, let's say if you need to heat up the house in the first few days, when you need a lot of high temperatures above 30 degrees, we can condition the house with heating. So a heat pump is a system that can be used to make hot water, and then that hot water can go to the inlets. But the latest technology we introduce is our air conditioning unit to further cool down the house. It is the same principle as you just saw in the video, whereby we use heat from the wastewater in the air cleaner to export to our inlets, and then via the inlets it goes into the house. But instead of hot air, this time it's cool air. So the air chiller, the one on the left, chills it to 10 degrees, and then through piping it goes back into the house. So if you purchase products that are good for the environment, you also want to have data or evidence to back up that statement. Because you want to know your ammonia emission levels, you want to know your particulate matter amount of manure out of the house, water use, gas use, and so on. So collecting data is essential for the farmer to grow the amount of eggs and also the profits, but it's also very useful to share with customers. So multiple sensors are collecting data all the time, sending it back to our Big FarmNet software program. And those sensors, for example, are CO2 sensors, humidity sensors, pressure sensors, ammonia sensors, water sensors, and so on. So all the data is first collected in our Viper Touch computer. It's one computer per shed, and if you have multiple sheds, we can send all the data to Big FarmNet Manager. It collects all the complete farm overview for multiple farms on one computer. And we can even integrate it with the complete value chain, such as food producers, hatcheries, egg processing, further processing, etc. So you get that complete overview of all your data. So with sustainable products that are certified by the government and checked by our Big FarmNet, we can also contribute to UN's Sustainable Development Goals. This is, for example, very useful for publicly listed companies who have to report their environmental, social, and governance, or ESG, but also for family-owned farms who want to communicate to their to their customers that they are sustainable. How can I afford new equipment? Access to capital is essential to buy new innovative products. And more of these types of loans, they're called green bonds or green financing, is also available in Southeast Asia. In a few days' time, there will be an important climate meeting in Scotland with world leaders. And I've read that they're also making sure that more capital is coming towards Asia for green investments. Of course, one additional benefit is free publicity. You end up in a lot of newspapers, a lot of trade magazines. And this is a good way to communicate with your users or your customers that you are doing the right thing and that you are taking a step towards sustainability. So I would say make use of the first mover advantage, be a role model and boost company reputation. There's smell reduction. We can increase relationships with our customers, with our people around the farm, with communities. We can achieve low ammonia emissions. So we are compliant with all regulation and we are stress-free. And we increase the livestock and workers' welfare. So we have better productivity and better quality. Thank you very much. It's time for questions.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much. Very interesting in the way Big Dutchman looking at the total value chain. You're thinking even about the gasoline, petrol using in the truck, transport, the manure also. So that's very nice. Definitely a lot of questions. Yeah. So I would start with the question on how to clean how to clean the machine when it's handled the manure. So how often the farm has to clean and what to use to clean it. Yeah.
Yeah, so as you can see on the photo that I still shared on the screen, we have multiple products.
Yeah.
So there's multiple ways of cleaning. For example, the dryer is something that doesn't need a lot of cleaning. But of course, the better and the more you clean it, the better it is for the life cycle of the product. CompoTower, for example, is completely closed, and we only ask maybe once a year to clean a product. What do we still have? Pelletizers also, well, they're a little bit more prone to maintenance. We do ask the pelletizer users to use a bit more oil every now and then. But as I showed in the presentation, they're very much dust-free. So a lot of products, if you are handled them nicely, if you make sure that the ventilation is correct in the house, then the manure coming out of the house is already quite dry, so it doesn't get so wet in the machines. That's something you want to avoid.
Okay, so the next question from our friend from Myanmar, there are also some your team also help to answer on the chat box. How many times they need to clean the manure per week in 5 tiers, like 30,000 birds layer house?
This mean they mean inside of the house itself?
To clean manure per week in 5 tiers. Yes.
Okay. Well, we sort of advise to remove the manure on a daily basis. So
every day. Yeah. Not clean, but remove. Yeah.
Remove, definitely. And then after, for example, one cycle, one batch, you can clean the whole house. And then you can do a real thorough cleaning, a real tough type of cleaning.
Okay.
But at least remove the manure every day. That's very important.
Yeah. The next question is about when you show that putting the manure to dry, put in the dryer, the processing time altogether, it's how many hours or how many days? Can you explain?
Definitely, it's a good question. So we design based on the needs of the customer. So it could be that for some customers, they would like 1 or 2 days. And in some cases, it's 3 or 4 days. But I would say then on general, maybe to give an average answer, 2 to 3 days, it will be inside of the system. Because it uses the hot air coming out of the house. And then by using that hot air, it further dries the manure. It also depends on if you, for example, want to dry it up to, let's say, 50% dry matter content, or maybe all the way up to 70 or 80% dry matter content. So the longer you dry, of course, the better the result. Some people can sell manure for good money at 50% dry matter content. So it really depends.
Yeah. And next question is, seems all the photo and video you show, there are many medium and small farmers inside this conference as well. They want to ask, like, if about the CompoTower, what is the smallest capacity? They don't tell how big is their farm, okay? So
yeah.
like, how is the smallest capacity that Big Dutchman offer to the customer? Yeah.
Oh, it's a very good question. So we roughly say you need about 100,000 birds, and then 100,000 birds can use 1 CompoTower. So with 100,000 birds, you have enough manure to produce compost on a daily basis.
Okay.
So that's, I think, roughly, let's say 2 houses of 50,000 birds. And 50,000 birds is very standard in Southeast Asia for layer houses.
Yes. Otherwise, any idea, like some area they do the layer farming, they can also invest as a cooperative to have CompoTower, right? Like in Thailand, some area that have many farms and they have the layer cooperative. That's work like that or not? Or it recommend to be the full system from the layer house. Can it do in separate way, like same? Yeah.
You mean that multiple farmers take the manure and put it in, let's say, 1 tower? Well, it is possible. We have seen some farmers do that as well, where, for example, they buy one CompoTower and then multiple people then supply manure to that CompoTower. It is possible, definitely. But preferably then what is necessary is to maybe pre-dry it a little bit on the farm, so it's not so wet, and then you can easily transport it as well, so you reduce your transportation cost, and then only you make compost out of it. So that's absolutely a possibility. Yeah,
I believe that there is a situation in a way that Southeast Asia is in tremendous pressure by the cost of feed, and then the investment. I think they must kind of one step at a time, So
Yeah.
that's might be the solution for any cooperatives or the farmers you can reach to Big Dutchman team here. The next, anything. The next question.
So I just wanted to add on. This is exactly why we also produce smaller systems. And that's connected to what I said earlier, that we like to grow with the customer. So we supply to small farms who want to make a slow transition, or also big corporations who like to invest everything at one time. But it's important for us that we supply all those type of customers with the right products. So it could be one CompoTower or a very small dryer, or many, many dryers in a big system. So we have multiple possibilities for that.
Okay. The next question, Jaap, it says, what happens to ammonium sulfate that is byproduct from the system?
Yeah, so it's in fact a liquid fertilizer. So in some countries in Asia, you can put it on the land. In some countries, it's not yet allowed. But then if you dry ammonium sulfate, then it's again possible to sell it or further treat it. So there are a few possibilities, but I would say it's a quite technical and a scientific question, and it actually depends on the country. So if that person would like to contact us, we can give him the right information and really help him.
Yes.
Maybe talk to the government or talk to the local government or those people who are involved with chemicals.
Okay, so my next question is about, I think Big Dutchman has done tremendous, like a lot of studies on manage the manure, because some in China, some in Europe also make manure doing the biogas. So the question is, why this way you see this approach has the better benefit than going with the biogas?
Yeah, biogas in a lot of cases, especially for layers, do require a lot of investment. You need a lot of land because biogas needs to stand on a very big piece of land. And there's also a lot of heavy equipment involved. And you cannot scale it up. You cannot start small, as you said earlier, where some people just want to add on a little bit. That's not possible with biogas. So you have to start very big. Otherwise, it's not profitable. So it's very useful for pig farms. I would say a little bit less for layer farms, because layer farms have manure every day that can be easily dried if you put it in a dryer, for example. And if you want to make it into compost, for example, in Vietnam, the price of compost is very high. So there it would make sense if you make it into compost rather than turn it into biogas. But of course, it's still possible. If there's any customer in the layer farm or in the layer world that wants biogas, we also have a few equipment for that. We can help support them. But I would say it's more applicable maybe for cows and pigs and that type of animal.
I think the land factor, animal, which type of species also be the factor to think about which way they gonna do also. But with the system, you have innovate. The Big Dutchman have innovate. It is really built in with the farm itself.
Yes.
Right. And there is a question that you show on the ventilation. There is a question that how to manage during the winter.
Okay, winter. Did they also mention what country?
I believe Vietnam, because I don't have European except you and your boss in the call.
Okay. Yeah, in the winter time, of course, the climate is already different. And then the manure is probably also a little bit more dry and it's easy to handle actually. In the Southeast Asia parts where it's a tropical climate, then it becomes very wet. There's a lot of humidity in the manure, and then it's not so easy to manage anymore.
Yeah.
So winter time, of course, it can still go on. I would advise them to make it automatic. So the manure will be removed automatic by conveyors and then automatically placed in the machine. You can even build a small little house or some roof around it. So when it's really cold in the wintertime or when it's snowing, for example, at least it gets some cover. And then from there you can dry it or make compost or pelletize it. So there are ways of making sure that the system will be more enclosed, so to say, to fight the winter.
All right. That I think you explained already, but the question still here. I want to address it. Does the manure can be used as a fertilizer after the process?
Well, it is possible. It is possible. If you dry manure, you get rid of moisture, and then you can apply it on the land. It can be considered a fertilizer. I did show it in the slides as well. It's not the best fertilizer, to be honest. It could still have harmful bacteria in there. And harmful bacteria can actually turn the soil bad. So that's something we want to avoid.
That's why not recommend, better to compost it first.
That's the best. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is one question asking how does the system manage the harmful bacteria in the manure?
Yeah. So in the case of the CompoTower, it's a fully enclosed system. So that means that it doesn't go away. It stays inside. And the bacterial process inside of the CompoTower will create 60 to 70 degrees Celsius of heat.
Oh,
so it's very hot. You don't want to stick your hand in there. And if manure gets exposed to that high temperature, all the bacteria in the manure will be eliminated. They will be killed. So all the pathogen, all the viruses inside of manure will then be eliminated. And that's how we get rid of those harmful bacteria.
Yeah. So the next question, what was the minimum percent DMC for ideal composting? 40, 45, or what is that?
Yeah, that's the ideal. We roughly, we take 45 as the best, but sometimes we say roughly 40, 45.
Okay. The next question is, how does the machine, for example, you answer already on the clean. They want to ask whether it need to use like detergent or top foam or just like water or need something else or not to clean.
Yeah. Let me see if my Charlie, do you know? Charlie is our engineer. He knows all the
Charlie is in the call as well.
Charlie, what products do we use for cleaning?
Charlie and milk.
Okay, well,
it's
besides,
okay. We can get him to answer later. So the next question is there a possibility that coccidiosis will arise in the manual belt conveyor system?
I think that will always be a possibility.
Yes, so it's back to how we clean.
Yeah, it's always possible when we're dealing with manure. That's true.
All right. Yeah. So the next question is to you for sure on the system. I think they are worried about the disturb the flock when collecting the manure during the day. Yeah.
Well, that's something that we haven't experienced. We just, let's say, remove the manure on a daily basis. And as we can see, it doesn't disturb the flock. They don't get rattled by it.
No record, no incident.
No incident, no.
Yeah.
No birds escaping or whatsoever. No, they stay in the cages.
Okay. I would go to the next one. The question is minimum want to ask about recommend minimum and maximum air speed for layer case. I think the question from Pakistan. Yeah.
Okay. In Pakistan, wow. Okay, maybe in the layer cage, maybe somewhere between 3.5 meters per second on the top of my head. Of course, it varies. Pakistan is a big country. They have different climates, but some parts are hot, some parts are even hotter. But I guess, and this is just a guess, I have to talk to this man or woman just to verify what the actual place is. But I guess maybe 3.5.
Yeah. Okay. The next question on our friend from Myanmar asking. So I think Big Dutchman will get order for sure, this one, because he already want to know about maintenance procedure. So
Maintenance. Okay.
yeah, maintenance procedures like all of the sensor, its equipment, motor.
Did this person specify what equipment he's referring to?
I think the term that you present is about combo and the process going to CompoTower. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the CompoTower only needs about one big clean once a year. It's like I said, it's a process. All the manure just stays inside of in the tower. It's stainless steel as well. So stainless steel is not something that you have to clean every day. And after a year, we do recommend maybe just get rid of all the manure and compost inside of the CompoTower. And then you have to kickstart it again with sawdust. But we only have to do that once. You only have to do sawdust once if you want to start the process, if the whole tank is completely empty. So sawdust is a form of carbon that we add to manure to kickstart the bacterial process.
Yeah.
After that, only we add manure, no effective microbes, no enzymes or other products.
Yeah. So next question is from Vietnam, asking, is it the system like the compost can use for pigs? You recommend for pig as well?
Yeah, it's possible. We actually recommend it to a few of our pig farmers as well. And most likely this person in Vietnam has a biogas, I presume. And what we also have is a separator. And that separator is then being put in front of the biogas. So when you separate manure, you have liquids on one part and you have solids on the other part. And those solid parts coming out of the separator can go straight into the CompoTower. You can make compost out of it. Same applies for a manure separator that you can put behind the biogas to remove all the sludge, all the waste. And that can be, it's the same principle. That can be separated. So you have liquids and solids, and then the solids go into the CompoTower. So it's absolutely possible.
Okay. The next question is on asking you your opinion about the CompoTower and antimicrobial resistance. When the products from CompoTower is applied on land as fertilizer. So any opinion on the antimicrobial resistance?
Yeah, it's a good product. We have done several tests from the compost coming out of our tower. And there you can see that the organic matter is very high. It's close to 60%. The NPK values are also considered relatively high. I mean, it's not as high as chemical, but it's good for an organic fertilizer.
Yeah.
And if people want, you can always add on your own type of fertilizer to increase its effectivity. You can straight away put it on the land. You can also add some stuff on your own that you prefer, where you can mix with existing products. That's also possible.
All right. So my last question to you, Jaap. Since Big Dutchman really focus on the total solution for the value chain system for produce in our livestock sector, can you share with the audience on how the audience could look at the start from each country, like any idea how they can work with you or what they have to prepare in order to go further discuss? Because I believe someone really interested but also concerned on the economic part. So I want you to address this here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good question. It's a fair question as well. So I would say our strength is that we have experience all around the world. So we can learn from people in Africa, Europe, America, South America. And in a lot of cases, they have already been through this situation. Europe, for example, they have also had cages 20, 30 years ago, not anymore. But we take all that experience and we can apply it to farms in Asia. So we can help the customer grow We can say, for example, what kind of equipment he can buy. Again, he doesn't have to buy everything at once. It can be in steps. It can be modular. And we can advise him based on his type of house. We can advise him based on the climate where the farm is located. We can advise based on the type of manure he gets. So we can, every step we can tell and we can advise what to do and what we think is the best plan. But we have the time. We don't mind if, for example, we supply one machine this year and then the following machine the next year. So that's perfectly fine. And like I said, we're here to grow with the customer, to help him grow his farm, grow his profit, grow the amount of eggs, or maybe grow the amount of processed manure, for example. So yeah, we are there for every step and we have the experience.
Yeah, the best is anyone or any audience, ladies and gentlemen, if you really interested to discuss further, this is for our better world together, because we are living with our business as entrepreneur of doing the farm. So we have to produce the sustainable meat, sustainable egg to the consumer. So please feel free to reach to the Big Dutchman team around the world, around ASEAN, because now I see a lot of from our South Asia friend join. So if you don't mind, Jaap, ask your team to put their contact in chat, then each country